You've written over a dozen books. Which is your favorite?
Love After Heartbreak.
Why is that?
Because that's the book about healing from your past,
Okay.
which I think is like the most important thing for people to do. And probably the most common issue people are facing is a lack of healing. So I think it's the most powerful, most important book for people to read.
In a relationship, do you believe that there should be no sexual contact before marriage?
We gotta act, Stephan. We have to act.
Okay, the thing is, you want the politically correct spiritual answer?
No, we just want to I want an honest answer.
So here's the thing. I am a man of God, and I'm never gonna go against what the way that God set out for us, which is waiting till marriage. I'm just not going to be blind to the reality that most people aren't going to make it that far. All right. And most people don't. So for me, I still have to talk about things from every angle because I don't want to just leave out the people who are having sex just because that's not what we're supposed to do. But that's what happens. Now, I know there's people who have the concern of, well, you got to test drive it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Get yourself into. Mm-hmm. I think that's a flawed perception and ideology because millions have test drived and still ended up in sexless marriages. All right? It did not guarantee you anything. What gives you the best chance of great sex in marriage is having a genuine, true connection with that person. Because at the end of the day, they have to have the desire and drive to want to please you, and you have to have the desire and drive to want to please them. If you don't truly like them at their core like that, you will not have that. What happens with a lot of people is they're initially driven to impress the other sexually, okay? So they may go all out at first, but once the smoke clears, if there's not that deep connection, they're not as passionate about pouring into the other. And at that point, it won't be great sex, plain and simple, and it won't be consistent. So to me, that is much more important than test driving it, you know? But I get it. I understand why people do it. And I always make this joke. I'm like, listen, test drive is one time. So once you did it more than once, you ain't test driving, you joyriding at that point, okay? That's a different ball game, all right? But I understand why people do it.
So, Stephan, I usually hear a saying that you could be with a female for 4 to 5 years, but you don't know her until you live with her, right? So I understand you're a Christian man. Right, and like I said, we all know we're not supposed to be having sex or living with somebody before marriage. But would you advise somebody that they actually should live with somebody for a year or two before actually moving out and marrying with that person?
Not a year or two. I don't think we have to live with each other to really know each other. Okay. I think we have to dive into deeper conversations with each other. People don't talk enough with each other. They don't ask enough questions. That's the reason why they don't really know who they're dealing with, okay? But even if we're gonna do the living together test run, one, I prefer it be after engagement. So between engagement and marriage, having that test run. And I think no more than 6 months. 6 months. Year max, and I'm only gonna say a year max because a lease may have to be a year, okay? But it has to be like, yo, if you can't figure out if you want to marry this person after living with them for 6 months, a year, at that point, that says to me, it's not going to work. You're trying to make it work. You're trying to get comfortable with it. You're hoping the issues will disappear, but it's not working. You wouldn't need longer than that to figure that out.
So you did bring up engagement, right? I got engaged last Thursday on the 11th.
Congratulations.
So this is going to be a personal question for me or anybody out there that's actually watching. I'm in a happy relationship now, right? What would make it transition from a healthy relationship to a healthy marriage?
Okay. So I think you guys should do premarital counseling, all right? Because you got to make sure there's no lingering issues from the past that might creep its way into the marriage and cause problems. 2, there needs to be a discussion on how do each of you see the other's role and your own role in marriage, all right? Because again, people don't always behave the same in whether it be as friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, or as married. Like I have a homeboy once where he was seeing a girl. They was cool for like a year. And he was like, man, I think I want to make it official with her. She gives me my freedom and, she's cool with everything. I'm like, bruh.
Chill out.
Exactly. Like, she's your friend right now.
Yeah, just true.
That you kicking it with. That doesn't mean she's going to be the same way as your girlfriend. He's like, nah, I'm telling you, it's not like that. He becomes official with her, and that's exactly what happens. Now she's like, why are you going out this much? Why are you doing this? Boom, boom, boom. It changed. So you need to have a discussion in advance, like never assume the rules stay the same at every level. Always have a discussion and make sure, okay, this is how we're going to have this. This is what's expected of each other. And if we're cool with that, cool, we'll move forward. And then the other thing I would mention is just making sure you guys create a structure to where when there is an issue between y'all, do your best to resolve it between y'all. Not bringing in the other family members and friends. And it's one thing to have that one person maybe that you want to confide in to kind of help you work through some things, or seeing a counselor, that's cool. But people make a mistake when they start inviting too many people into their relationship, especially when you understand that the natural inclination of a human being is we don't tend to go talk about the good stuff. It's when something bad happens, we're running to people because we need help figuring this situation out. So you keep feeding family and friends bad, you're going to make it harder for you when you guys need to work through something, and everybody's perception is, why are you even with this person? But they don't understand all the good it is they didn't hear about. So you want to try to knock it out between the two of you as best as possible.
Stephan, I came up.
No problem.
I came up with a theory.
Okay.
I don't know if you would agree to it. With piggyback on what you mentioned about opening up your relationship to other people to receiving different advice, because now you're allowing other people to have a say.
Yeah.
Right. Before I get into my theory, one thing I would say with that is, oftentimes what I've noticed is when you go to someone else and you say, hey, I'm having this problem with either your husband or wife or whatever the situation may be, that person, you leave an image of your significant other in that person's mind.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys make up, that person still have that image in their mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now when you come back to them about something else, they're going to still go back into that same
image.
Yeah.
And even when you guys are well, they still have that image in their mind.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
I mean, it's a real thing, and that's why you have to be mindful. If you're going to invite other people into your relationship, you got to give them the whole story. You got to make sure they hear the good and the bad. You can't just feed one side. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going to start to cause a lot of problems. And to your point, like, even let's say a woman goes to her friend, she tells them something bad that you did, she goes back to you, y'all make up. Now, even when she talks to her friend about good that you're doing, her friend, because she's, like you said, that image of the bad part of you is still there, she won't celebrate those moments with her. She'll throw skepticism on the situation. You sure he ain't doing it? You know what I'm saying? Because she's always leaning on the bad version of you that she was told. So that's why it becomes really, really tricky. And it's important that, and I also think that it's important, now that I think about it, whoever is invited into sharing that information with, that they've met both people. You see what I'm saying? Because I know it, for me as a coach, I've experienced many times where I'll hear one side of the story and it'll make it sound this person is a horrible person. Then I meet that person, I'm like, this is not this is not what they told me. This is very, very different. You see what I'm saying? So I think that just if it's a mutual friend or a family member, they need to have interacted with both sides.
Oh man, well you guys, thank you for so much. You guys ready to hear my theory?
Go ahead.
Let's hear the theory, Joe.
You ready to hear my theory?
Yeah.
All right. This is a theory that I've came up with.
And wait, when did you make this theory?
Life experience. and observance of other people. Right. Here's what I've noticed. Maybe I'm crazy, but this is what I've noticed. When someone is in a relationship, right? and they go and seek advice from someone else. I mean, let's say a young lady is going to her girlfriend, or a guy is going to his male friends. Oftentimes, the friend would give an advice to the person asking, right? They'll give the advice of something that they would want to do in a relationship, but they would not do. So they'll say, oh, if that was me, nah, girl, do this, or nah, do that. But they would never say that in their relationship. So now they set you up for something that they would want to do, but they would never actually do in their relationship.
Well, because it's the whole thing of, it's easier to give advice than to take your own advice.
Oh, okay.
And the reason is because once you are emotionally invested in a situation, it is harder to navigate that situation. So I may be able to see clearly how you should react in a certain moment from the outside looking in. But once I'm involved in that same scenario and my emotions are running high, I may lose sight of the correct way to do things. So it's very common where people, they'll tell you to do stuff that they wouldn't do, but it doesn't always mean that it's not the right thing to do. But yes, they may struggle to do it themselves in their own situation.
See? So my theory did have some.